You have hundreds of friends on social media. Your phone buzzes with notifications. You text with people every day. You've never been more connected to more people in human history. So why do you feel so alone? Welcome to the loneliness paradox. We are the most connected generation ever, and also one of the loneliest. Surveys show that loneliness has doubled in recent decades. More than half of adults report feeling lonely on a regular basis. And this isn't just a sad feeling. Loneliness is a health crisis. Research shows that chronic loneliness is as harmful to your health as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. It increases your risk of heart disease, dementia, depression, anxiety, and premature death. But here's what most people don't understand. Loneliness isn't about being physically alone. You can be surrounded by people and still feel deeply lonely. You can be married, have close friends, and still feel like no one truly sees you. Welcome to Health Sketchpad. I'm Dr. A.B. Today, we're exploring the loneliness epidemic, why it's happening, what it does to your brain and body, and most importantly, how to build genuine connection in a world designed to keep us scrolling. Before we go further, we need to be clear about what loneliness actually is and what it isn't. Loneliness is not the same as being alone. Solitude, choosing to be alone, can be deeply restorative. Many people enjoy time alone. They read, create, think, recharge. Solitude is a choice. It feels peaceful, not painful. Loneliness is different. Loneliness is the distressing feeling that comes from a mismatch between the social connection you want and the social connection you have. You can feel lonely in a crowded room. You can feel lonely sitting next to your spouse. You can feel lonely in a group chat with 20 people. Loneliness is not about the number of people around you. It's about the quality of connection you experience. Psychologists distinguish between two types of loneliness. Social loneliness is when you miss having a broader social network, friends, colleagues, community members. You feel like you don't belong to a group. Emotional loneliness is when you miss having one or two close, intimate relationships, someone who truly knows you, who you can be vulnerable with, who sees you fully. Many people experience both. And in our digital age, both types are increasingly common. Here's the key insight. Loneliness is subjective. Two people can have identical social networks, the same number of friends, the same frequency of contact, and one feels deeply lonely while the other feels fully connected. The difference is perception, not just circumstance. Loneliness isn't just a feeling, it's a biological event. Your brain processes social pain using the same neural circuits that process physical pain. When you experience social rejection, exclusion, or loneliness, your dorsal anterior cingulate cortex and anterior insula activate, the exact same regions that light up when you stub your toe or burn your hand. This makes evolutionary sense. For your ancestors, being isolated from the tribe was a survival threat. Without the group, you couldn't hunt, gather, or protect yourself from predators. Your brain evolved to make social isolation painful, so you would seek connection. The problem is that your brain can't tell the difference between being exiled from your tribe and being left on red. Between a genuine survival threat and a skipped lunch invitation, your brain processes them similarly. This is why loneliness hurts, literally, and this is why chronic loneliness is so damaging. When your social pain network is constantly activated, it creates chronic stress, elevates cortisol, and triggers systemic inflammation. Over time, your brain's threat detection system becomes hypervigilant. You start expecting rejection. You interpret neutral social cues as hostile. You withdraw to protect yourself, which of course makes the loneliness worse. The lonely brain is a brain that's constantly scanning for threats and preparing for pain. And that brain is exhausted. Here's the cruelest part of loneliness. It creates a self-reinforcing cycle that makes it harder to connect. The cycle starts with loneliness. You feel disconnected, unseen, alone. Your brain, sensing a threat to your social survival, enters a state of hypervigilance. You start scanning every social interaction for signs of rejection. Did that person look away too quickly? Did they take too long to text back? Did they laugh at something I said? Because your social pain network is already activated, you start interpreting neutral social cues as hostile or rejecting. A tired friend's brief response feels like dismissal. A missed invitation feels like exclusion. A lack of likes feels like unpopularity. This leads to withdrawal. To protect yourself from anticipated rejection, you pull back. You don't reach out. You don't take social risks. You stay home. You scroll instead of showing up. And withdrawal leads to more loneliness. Your social skills atrophy. Your connections weaken. The very thing you feared, rejection, isolation, becomes more likely because you stopped trying. This is the loneliness loop, and millions of people are trapped in it. The good news is that you can break the cycle. It starts with recognizing the loop for what it is. Your brain's overprotective threat response, not an accurate reflection of how others see you. Social media promised to connect us. In many ways it has. We can talk to anyone, anywhere, at any time. But social media has also created a loneliness paradox. The more time we spend scrolling, the more alone many of us feel. Here's why. First, social comparison. Social media shows us carefully curated highlights of other people's lives. The vacation, the promotion, the engagement, the perfect family photo, the fitness transformation. We compare our messy, difficult, ordinary lives to these filtered highlights, and we inevitably feel inferior. Second, passive consumption. Liking and scrolling is not the same as connecting. Research shows that passive social media use, just scrolling, not interacting, is associated with increased loneliness and depression. Active use, commenting, messaging, having real conversations can be beneficial, but most of us spend most of our time passively consuming. Third, displacement. Time spent on social media is time not spent on real-world connection. Every hour scrolling is an hour you could have spent having coffee with a friend, calling a relative, or joining a group activity. Screen time displaces face time. Fourth, illusion of connection. 1,000 followers is not the same as one friend who will show up at 3 a.m. when you're struggling. Likes are not love. Comments are not care. We've confused quantity of connection with quality of connection. Social media is a tool. Used wisely, it can enhance real relationships. Used passively, it becomes a loneliness amplifier. Part of the loneliness epidemic isn't just about what we're doing, it's about how we've built our world. 50 years ago, people lived differently. They walked to local stores. They sat on front porches and waved to neighbors. Children played in the street. People bumped into each other accidentally throughout the day. These accidental interactions, what sociologists call weak ties, are surprisingly important for mental health. The nod to the mail carrier, the chat with the neighbor while gardening, the brief conversation at the coffee shop. These small moments of connection add up. We've engineered these moments out of our lives. We live in neighborhoods without sidewalks. We drive into our garages and close the door. We order groceries online instead of walking to the store. We work from home instead of an office. We stream entertainment instead of going to a theater. None of these changes are bad on their own, but together, they've dramatically reduced the number of opportunities for spontaneous, low-stakes social interaction. To combat loneliness, we may need to intentionally create what used to happen naturally: third spaces, community gatherings, regular group activities, and simply spending time in public where people can see and be seen. Loneliness isn't just an emotional problem, it's a physical health crisis. Research by psychologist John Cacioppo and others has shown that chronic loneliness is associated with a 26% increase in the risk of premature death. To put that in perspective, that's comparable to the health risks of obesity and physical inactivity. Here's what loneliness does to your body. First, your cardiovascular system. Chronic loneliness elevates blood pressure, increases inflammation in blood vessels, and raises the risk of heart disease and stroke. Second, your immune system. Loneliness suppresses immune function, making you more vulnerable to infections and slower to recover from illness. Lonely people have weaker responses to vaccines. Third, your brain. Loneliness is associated with cognitive decline and a 40% increased risk of dementia. The chronic stress of loneliness damages the brain over time. Fourth, your sleep. Lonely people experience more fragmented sleep, with more nighttime awakenings and less restorative deep sleep. And fifth, your mental health. Loneliness is a major risk factor for depression, anxiety, and suicide. It's both a cause and a consequence of mental health struggles. The mechanisms are clear. Loneliness creates chronic stress, which elevates cortisol, which triggers inflammation, which damages every organ system in your body. It's not just sad, it's dangerous. Breaking the loneliness cycle isn't easy. The very thing that would help, reaching out, feels hardest when you're lonely. But small steps add up. Here are 5 evidence-based strategies to build genuine connection. First, reach out first. The lonely brain expects rejection, so it waits for others to initiate. But research shows that people consistently underestimate how glad others are to hear from them. Send the text, make the call, initiate the plan. Most people will be happy you did. Second, schedule connection like you schedule exercise. Don't wait for connection to happen spontaneously. Put coffee with a friend on your calendar. Join a weekly book club, walking group, or game night. Treat social connection as a non-negotiable part of your health routine. Third, join a group around a shared activity. Low stakes, structured settings reduce social anxiety. A running club, a choir, a volunteer organization, a religious community, a hobby group. The activity gives you something to talk about and takes pressure off. Fourth, share something real. Small talk is safe, but it doesn't create deep connection. Take a small risk. Share something you're struggling with, something you're excited about, something vulnerable. Most people will meet your vulnerability with their own. Fifth, show up consistently. Deep connection isn't built in one conversation. It's built through repeated, positive interactions over time. Keep showing up, keep reaching out. Trust that the connection will deepen. And here's the most important thing: start small. You don't need to transform your social life overnight. Send one text today, say yes to one invitation this week, join one group this month. Small steps break the cycle. The research on loneliness has a clear finding. Quality matters more than quantity. 1,000 followers who don't know you are not a substitute for one friend who truly sees you. 100 likes are not a substitute for one person who will sit with you when you're struggling. What creates genuine connection? Empathy, the ability to feel with someone, not just for them. Vulnerability, the willingness to share your real self, flaws, fears, struggles, dreams. Reciprocity, mutual sharing, mutual support, mutual care. Not one person always giving and the other always taking. Presence, being fully with someone, not distracted by a phone, not thinking about what to say next, just present. Trust, knowing that you can share something difficult and it won't be used against you. You don't need dozens of people who offer this. You need 1 or 2, maybe 3 or 4. That's it. If you have one person you can call at 3 a.m. when you're struggling, you are not lonely in the way that matters most. So stop counting followers. Start cultivating depth. Let's bring this all together. Loneliness is not a personal failure. It's not a sign that you're unlovable or unlikable. Loneliness is a biological signal, your brain's way of telling you that you need connection, just like hunger tells you that you need food. And here's what you need to know. You are not alone in feeling alone. Millions of people around the world are experiencing the same ache, the same isolation, the same longing for connection. Loneliness is universal. The paradox is that the very thing that would help, reaching out, feels most difficult when you're lonely. The hypervigilant brain expects rejection. It tells you that no one wants to hear from you, that you'd be bothering them, that they're too busy. Research shows that these beliefs are almost always wrong. People are almost always glad to be reached out to. They almost always appreciate the invitation. They almost always feel more connected after a real conversation. So here's your invitation. Send one text today. Say yes to one invitation this week. Join one group this month. Share something real with one person. Start small. Be patient with yourself. Trust that connection is possible, even when it doesn't feel that way. And remember, the weather changes. The loneliness loop can be broken. You are not alone in feeling alone. What's one small step you can take today?